This episode of Chops is brought to you by Sight Reading Factory.
Sight Reading Factory generates virtually infinite music for students to sight read with customizable difficulty levels to give them exactly what they need. Sheet music is generated on the spot for your ensemble, and individual parts with correct transpositions are sent to students' devices. Sight reading with an ensemble has never been easier.
Okay, Jack, what if it created a rhythm and cut time? 2 quarter notes, 2/8 notes, and a quarter rest. How would that go?
Probably something like this.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chops Podcast. My name is Steve Peterson.
And I am Jack Hinkle.
We're so glad you're with us today, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And we're going to talk today about the teaching trifecta, knowing your students, knowing your content, and knowing your teaching.
And hey, listeners, guess what? Tomorrow's a big day.
What's that?
It's,
Hey!
it's 2 days after St. Patrick's Day, but also Steve's birthday.
Woo! Happy
Steve's going to
birthday.
turn 33 tomorrow.
It's hard to believe.
So
I feel like I've been teaching so much longer than
So
that.
much
but
longer. Yeah, someday you'll hit your rule of 85,
Oh.
but
not this year.
not this year. Do you have any special plans?
Well, so my birthday's on the 19th. My wife's birthday's on the 21st. So and it falls on March Madness. So it's usually like a 4-day swath of gluttony, right?
Takis and
Yeah,
Kentucky basketball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of basketball, but I'm sure Kathy and I will either go out Friday or Saturday. But then Sunday, my parents are having up and some other family, and we're celebrating dual birthdays. Hoping for Zoom calls tomorrow with the boys
Nice.
from far away. And then Sunday also, my mom is making the traditional birthday cake, which has been around since forever. It's double layer chocolate cake with buttermilk frosting,
Ooh,
white
yeah.
frosting with mint chip ice cream. I mean,
Ooh, mint chip.
that is the thing, man. And then probably this weekend, also this time of year, I'd like to partake at least one time in a Shamrock Shake at McDonald's.
'Tis the season.
Right?
'Tis the season. And it's supposed to get nice out again this weekend.
It is.
Like 70 degrees Saturday, which is fascinating because we had a snow day yesterday.
Yeah. So if you're listening to these episodes in order, the last one we had Whiplash. That night got kind of tough with the weather. No school Tuesday. And then Wednesday we came back. Today, the 18th. It's a half day of school because then we had professional development for the second half. But I think we have our normal Thursday and Friday coming up.
So far.
But it's my birthday and March Madness. Oh, I got to go to the dentist tomorrow too.
Dentist tomorrow?
Yeah.
On your birthday?
7 a.m.
Why did you do that to yourself?
Because that's what she said was open. And you know how dentists are.
7 a.m.?
Yeah.
Wow.
In Goshen.
Are you going to stop at the brew on the way back?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. But maybe I can get some phone call time in. With
Oh,
my son who's
there you
ahead
go.
of us, maybe we can talk then too.
There
So
you
it's
go.
it's okay.
Okay.
I can
Well,
have-
and then, that's kind of like a Michael Scott thing. They'd be like guaranteed to tell you happy birthday, right? They're looking at your records, date of birth,
exactly.
right? 318.
Exactly. And
Like,
I get
"Oh,
along
look
with
at you."
I get along with the dentist staff, so we've
All
known each
right.
other a while. So
Well, I hope you're cavity free tomorrow. Hope it goes well.
I think I should be good. Okay, Jack, we're talking about 2 perfect techniques today.
Yes, we are. Or 2 techniques from each of us that we think
All right.
are
Not perfect.
are quite applicable. And Steve and I, pre-recording, were thinking like we should talk more about actual things we do. And we do enjoy talking philosophy. We enjoy talking students. We enjoy talking content and keeping it relevant for all listeners, whether you teach music, whether you're a business owner, or whether you are teaching 7th grade science. But these are some teaching techniques that like we use and have used in the classroom or outdoors when our classroom is outdoors.
Yep, and they're free, and you can use them because I'm sure, stole them from somebody else.
Yes, but they're still not AI. So keep
Right.
that one in mind.
They're
They're very official, not
Right.
artificial. They are official. I like that.
yes.
Okay, so Steve is going to kick it off with jazz band.
Okay, jazz band. My 2 techniques are from jazz band. The first one I'm going to talk about is probably one of the most successful learning curves we had of learning a tune. It was November, getting ready. We just had our fall concert. We were getting ready for Christmas Spectacular. We were going to start working on Count Basie Jingle Bells. Okay. And because of the timing of it, I don't know where we got out the tune, but basically for the first 3 weeks of working on that tune, we did not play a note on that tune. Now, we played every day in jazz band, of course, but all we did on this tune, the Count Basie, since we had a good recording of it, kids had the music. They were encouraged to practice it on their own, but we did not rehearse it as a band, is that we took a phrase each day and listened to it multiple times, or maybe like one time through the form, something like that. And we would listen to it. I think usually listen to it twice. Then I would have the students give comments to each other about, like, what did they notice about the phrasing? What did they notice about articulation and releases and dynamics, all that kind of stuff. We'd write some things in our music. Then we'd listen to a couple more times, and the kids would like fake play on their instruments. We'd never play it. So maybe we'd spend 10 minutes on it, then put it away. We did that for 2 or 3 weeks, and then the first time we played it, voila! We were like way ahead of the curve. And it was successful. The students learned a lot. I didn't teach a lot. Like, their ears did the teaching, but we just created a setting where the students could be successful. And they knew their version of Count Basie was the version they knew from that recording, which is fine. That's what I wanted. I wanted them to emulate the Count Basie recording. That was a beneficial exercise and something that this was good use of time.
So did you say every day?
Every day.
And that would have been about 4 or 5 weeks?
Yes.
Maybe less if it's November.
Yeah, I'd say 2 to 3. 3 was like the uploading of the tune. And then, yeah, I forget where it happened, but it is basically like we had 3 weeks to listen to the tune, and then we had a couple weeks to get it ready for a performance.
Okay, so like 3 weeks listen, a week or 2 play.
Perform.
Wow. Okay, yeah, when you put it that way, I mean, that's a quick
I think it was
turnaround.
2, yeah.
Wow.
So 2 weeks.
Well, good for you guys. Were the kids, like, how well did they buy into that process?
That's why I would do it again, is because I have a great memory of those kids buying in.
Great.
The buy-in was no problem, and they understood the assignment, and they were diligent about it, and they took it seriously, and they saw and heard the benefit when we unveiled the tune for the first time.
Yeah.
And they played through the first
Oh, that's
chorus, and
super
they're like,
cool.
oh, wow. And so that was in their ears, that was in their mind. It was like mission accomplished. But that group, remember very distinctly, personalities in that group. But that group, though, was ready to go. I mean, the culture was right, and the participation was right. And so that was a fun group to kind of surf in on that one.
Very cool. What would you say to somebody who might go, well, you're not teaching, that's just learning by rote?
I'd say you're right. And I don't remember hearing somebody say teaching by rote doesn't work. It does work, and it's really effective for certain times and certain seasons of the year. Okay? But especially in the jazz or any kind of music, but if you're taking that music seriously, that you're rehearsing, that you want to try to copy somebody else's style, the only way to get that is to listen.
Yeah, I would think for jazz you get it.
Right. I can't
you're
talk about
encouraged.
that. Right?
Oh yeah, you need to listen. Did you ever do it again with another tune?
No, because that was towards the end.
Okay. And was that, how much of that was out of like time constraints versus like intentionality of?
I think it was a little bit of both, but I think it was more intentionality that I wanted to switch up the speed of the class or the dynamics of the class, because we played a lot in that class, but it was also nice to have the horns off the face for a little bit and just to kind of settle into that listening rhythm.
Yeah, let the lead trumpet, calm it down for
Yeah.
a second, get the chop
So-
saber out.
Okay.
I had one more
One
thing
more
that I
question.
wanted to ask about that. Or not ask, but add. That what I think is really great about that is that it's like you are guaranteeing a lack of failure when you listen. You know what I mean? Like we've all experienced this class that like when kids are playing the music for the first time and it's just tragic. It's just like so
Unrecognizable.
and yeah, and just like a buzzkill. And it's like I'm sure you listeners and you Steve have memories of like pulling out something for the first time and the kids just like completely biff over it, and it just kind of like taints the environment and the learning curve is impeded
Yeah.
because of the
You
attitude.
get off to a bad start.
Yeah, so like you are eliminating that, and even with an advanced group like Jazz 1, I mean that can still happen if it's not like intentionally planned, but since you did intentionally plan it, you're like totally skipping that step, which I think is like a really good thing. And for you teachers out there, you need to plan in guaranteed success
Yeah.
and listening exercises are guaranteed success because you can't miss a note when you're listening. Can't play
That's
with
true.
the wrong fingers
That's
down.
true. It's not going to hurt you listening.
Right.
And I think the volume of repetition is important to get that style into your head and get everybody unified. So definitely a technique that I would simply do again. But I don't teach jazz band, so I don't know if I'll do it again. We'll see.
Oh, you'll teach jazz band again someday.
All
He'll
right.
be back in some band room.
Okay. What do you got, Mr. Hinkle? One of your top
Top
two perfect
techniques. One that I like to use for all band classes, whether concert or jazz, is create what are colloquially known as study guides for tunes, or in jazz band we call them the heads. But essentially, and I kind of learned this from you, like homogenizing your content for your class equals faster pace of learning. And if you can get all the kids doing the same thing, i.e. one lesson plan, instead of actually playing the music on their page, which is, up to 24 parts in a score, right? I mean, you move quicker. So in jazz band, this is what I've done more recently. I give the kids a head of the tune. So, for example, we played a tune called Abracadabra by Larry Barton in Jazz 2. And Steve, the beautiful part about this is because I already did it before, I already had the head done. So it didn't even take time.
Excellent.
So this is the second time playing this tune. I did this tune probably 3 or 4 years ago with a band, and very simple. I just got on Finale, which is a music notation software, and essentially copied out the main melody of the tune and handed it out to the kids. In addition, I think I put the blues scale for that tune, which would have been F blues, and it was like two things. Very basic. Rhythm section didn't get one. They just played their actual music because that's how it works for a drummer and a bassist, and we all learned the head together. It serves two purposes, maybe more. One, you get the entire band learning it, and inevitably in this like medium easy grade music, everyone's going to play the head in these simple blues tunes.
Mm-hmm.
So you're quickening the process for when it comes. Two, for soloists, it gives them some immediate vocabulary that they can throw in and improvise solo. So you're kind of doing both of those things at once. And the beauty is, like, you don't even have to tell the kids that's what you're doing. It's like, we're going to learn the head. Okay. So they understand that that's kind of how it rolls. And then when we go back in the tune, it's a very quick in pace. More recently, Jazz 1 right now is performing Whiplash and trying to get that together for our concert coming up next week. And Whiplash is a piece of music in 7/4, which does make it a little more difficult to feel because we don't often play music in 7. We like playing in 4. We like playing in 3. But 7 is kind of an odd meter, so it's harder to feel. So this study guide, this head was actually, I did it in 2 separate parts. Part 1 is called J.K. Simmons. Part 2 is called Miles Teller.
Okay.
So I get to say, okay, please take out J.K. Simmons. Okay, put away J.K. Simmons. Pull out Miles Teller, which leads to some fun conversations.
Is Miles
Teller's the guy who plays the drummer.
the drummer?
Yeah.
Oh, so the two actors.
The 2 actors.
Love it.
So J.K. Simmons is the head, just the head, and the scale, the blues scale. Miles Teller is some of the later stuff in the tune that happens, if you know the tune, kind of that stuff. And it's not really the head, but it's some moments that are kind of unison with certain groups, but then some groups don't play it. So same reason we do J.K. Simmons, that was the head, as we did for Abracadabra. For Miles Teller, we learned the music there because the kids have to know how to count to 7. I know that sounds very baseline, but counting to 7 is very hard. Tim Lautzenheiser would say, yeah, I can count to 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That was always his joke. And we started out like very basic just by chanting the beat distributions. And the tricky part of this tune is that there are little beats that are subdivided into 2s and 3s, like duples and triples. And so we spent a lot of time just writing in the counts to Miles Teller in 2s and 3s. And we would go like on the bend cue. I felt like a real classroom teacher. I'm like, okay, like drawing diagrams on the board, and the kids are writing it down. So we'd go in 2s and 3s, and then we'd chant it. We go 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3, and like go on that for a while. So we didn't even play for a while on this one. Then we slowly add in the music, and slowly add like music. And some kids chant and then switch. Some kids chant, some kids play. We played it on F. We played the chant on F. And so we're doing all these different like scaffolding things, and we're still not looking at Whiplash. We're just looking at these study guides. And the kids have an understanding of how to count it. And then when we pull out the real music, again, it's just like so quickened. And the other reason to do this is like a classroom management thing. Not that I really have a lot of that like issues with an advanced band, mostly older kids, but it keeps everybody engaged. And the trumpets never play that, but they know how, and they know how to count it. And having them around for that kind of just quickens the pace. I do this in concert band as well. We just made a study guide for a tune we're playing called Primal, and there's an introduction to this where it's kind of like a 4-part polyphony kind of idea going on at the beginning, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense when you put it together right away. So we learned each part in unison as the band.
Is this with concert band?
Concert band. Each part we learn in unison. It's like a 4-measure phrase, and then I was like, okay, anyone who went to this elementary school play A. Anyone who went to this one play B. And then
you're creating the polyphony kind of on the spot.
Yeah, and then you can mix and match it how you want, strength and numbers. Then you add in A, B, and C. Okay, split it up this way. Okay, A, B, C, D, B, C, D, A, D, B, C. Gotcha. And you just flip it around. And then, again, we're not touching the tune. But then when we actually went to play the tune at that polyphonic part, things lined up pretty quickly. So it's something that takes some time. But fortunately, I've gotten pretty quick at the software over the years that I can whip something up like that in about 10 or 15 minutes. You have to print it, takes time, but it just saves so much time in the learning process for the kids.
There's a couple things that stick out to me about that idea, and that would be like as a student, if you're a 4th trombone player and you're playing a tune like Whiplash, you probably don't get a lot of the run and gun fun. Right.
Ba, 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 ba. Yeah.
Right. You're playing different parts. You said the trumpets don't have the melody of this certain section, but like the 4th trombone gets to have the melody. The bari sax gets to have the melody. Maybe they already did, whatever. But the idea is that they are included on the melody is, I would think, be such a win for, like, let's just say 4th trombone. And then the other thing is, can you talk about, you talked about how you use it and you like drill it with the kids and you chant and write in the counts and then play the head, and then you look at the tune. So now that you're into the next phase and you're using the tune Whiplash, do you still refer back to the original, the score study or the study?
Interesting you ask, because that is on the lesson plan tomorrow. Jazz 1, it says tune, Miles Teller, Whiplash. And yes, and we're using Miles Teller tomorrow to really nail down the articulation in that section. And if we can get the whole band to play the articulation correctly at once, the sections can do it on their own.
Okay, so then you get the whole band doing it. Then when you cut them loose and they read Whiplash, then it's down to the actual instrumentation.
Yeah.
So it's actually harder, more difficult to do the study guide.
Yeah, you'd call it strength training.
Strength training.
Right. But you're absolutely right. The Miles Teller doesn't go away once we learn it. Miles Teller and J.K. Simmons make appearances every day.
Yep, and they'll probably be there to the day of performance.
They probably will be. And I will try and help out future jazz band director and put them back in the folder with the originals and just let that be there.
Then you're here for 25 years, and then you'll have all those all over the scores and copied in.
There you go.
Okay?
Leaving the
I
mark.
like that. So create your own study guide and time commitment, knowing finale, 10 minutes.
And now it's Dorico because finale went bye-bye.
Now it's Dorico.
And now I'm like mixing up my languages of keystrokes, and I'm
Right.
like blowing stuff up. And Dorico is like, no, I thought that was save. No, I just made everything in blue ink. Yeah, that's my current problem.
Okay.
So your next segment in your two perfect techniques is listening environments
Listening
and rehearsal
environment.
environments for jazz band.
Gay Burton told me at one point to change up the listening environment. And so this is one thing that I did frequently. And it would be like in our band room, if we did this for different reasons. I'll explain the technique is that everybody that played a wind instrument got up and took their stand with them and stood with their back against the wall, and I gave them zones they could stand in. Sometimes it was by section, but a lot of times I randomized it. So every kid in the brass and woodwinds, like in the three sides of the box-shaped room, were along the perimeter playing towards the middle. And then the rhythm section, the bass and drums, I left where they were. I could move the piano easily, so I did that. And so the band was like very spread out. I would use it for a couple reasons. One technique or one reason would be if the band was playing something that they were having a hard time keeping together. So it's kind of like that idea of strength training, that I knew if the students were away from me and they were away from the comfort of each other, if we could get it moving and grooving at that far away with that kind of distance, I knew when we would bring it back to the bandstand, it was going to be really hot. Right? And so you would go through the learning phases. It's kind of like marching band because you'd be like out there on your own and you feel like nobody's playing with you. And maybe that's the way it was at first, like the shyness. And at this point, it would be something they already know. Okay, so we're not fighting notes and rhythms, right? We're up to tempo, but we're trying to get it to hold and maybe work on some articulation, but we're definitely trying to line it up. So the idea is that you play it with that spread out like that, and you're not sitting by or standing by the normal culprits that you normally sit by in the bandstand. And then once that got comfortable, shift that up, intentionally move players around. So it's a totally new idea. Okay. Sometimes I would do this and I had them face the opposite way. Face towards the wall.
Toward the wall.
So they couldn't see anybody.
And they had the sound dampeners,
They
right?
had the sound dampeners where the carpeted walls, and so the sound was restricted and there was no reverb on it. So it sounded more muffled. It was like playing with a mute. So to get those articulations to pop, you kind of had to play through your instrument even more to exaggerate because you're doing resistance training. But then it's like going from a cold pool to a hot tub. It's like, quick, come back to your spot. Okay, let's play it again. And then I'm like, boom. It's like, oh my gosh, that is so much better, right? And it's so much easier to play when we're in tight. And so all we did was made things a little bit more intense, the circumstances more intense. It's another one of those exercises that I didn't talk much. The goal was to stay together and to lock in these certain articulations, and then the proof was in the pudding. Could you do it or not do it? And then once we had it, then we could run it back. And several times in a class period, to go back and forth, and just try to make it as zany as you could so they're not in any kind of predictable order. Another way would do this would work well with marching band and with marching band and jazz band. Like if we were in a situation you were trying to memorize a tune,
Oh yeah, yeah.
right? You'd have the music with them backs to the wall, or maybe they would play towards the wall. Then I say, okay, turn around, and then they would play to the middle of the room without their music. And then they'd play a couple reps towards the wall with their music, and then turn their bodies around. So it's like very efficient, like because you didn't have to move anything except your body. And you got a lot of reps in. Plus, you were also doing strength training because you were spread out all over the room. I liked the moving of the chairs and the moving of the rooms. It changed up the energy. It changed up the comfort level. It changed up my energy. And I got to hear kids because I'd walk around the perimeter and just like walk by kids just to try to hear what was going on. Got feedback from them, what they were hearing from where they were, even though it was totally different from what the drummer heard. But we wanted to hear all of that. But again, try to make the students a little uncomfortable in a safe way with being spread apart, and then bringing it back together, and then that resistance is gone, and then it feels like you're running faster.
How far apart would you say each kid was?
I'd probably say like 10 feet.
So you can pretty much hear yourself.
Yes.
Okay. And then you talk mostly like it's an articulation exercise.
Articulation or more vertical alignment.
Yeah,
like
probably not for balance, right?
Definitely not balance. Of course, you hope they hang intonation together.
Yeah.
But yeah, balance in your section, not so much. But maybe if you're depending, thank you for asking. But if you're like working on balance, maybe one thing that would be good if you're like really leaning into your lead trumpet for this boy or girl really has the style down. I want you to really find that person in the room musically, like, just like we would in the bandstand, you're listening back to the lead trumpet, but kind of hiding that voice, and so it just asks you to play at a different level.
I think I've done something similar to that, and like almost like needle in a haystack for the balance thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like we'd like randomize it, and then the lead trumpet player, I would say, go somewhere else. Everyone else, close your eyes. And so you're like trying to, with your ear, to find that person.
That's cool.
And then you're like, folks, like, where is he? Where is he? Okay, I got it. And then you're like, then lining up with
like
that person. I'm not trying to take away from you, but that's just something that came up. So with this exercise, do you remember like specific tunes that you were working on that you're like, it really helped with this section or this piece?
Yeah, I remember there were some, I want to say that tunes that come to mind were like straight eighth note tunes, some Latin tunes, salsa tunes, where the rhythms get a little complex, or at least they get complicated because of the layers, and just kind of working things out like that. That was something that came to my mind. And then also like you also had to listen so much for the drummer. And like for those of you that are jazz band directors and you go out to a performance, maybe you go to a contest down the road, and like you feel you get on stage and your Barry sax player is like at your right hip, like 10 feet down, but then your drummer is like at your left hip, but like 20 yards down, and the piano player's in a different warm up. Yeah. Like the setup is this like bonkers. You can change things on stage within reason, depending on the stage crew, but you can ask for adjustments, of course, that's fair. But when you rehearse in a situation where you're used to being, or have at least confronted that idea of being really out of order and really far apart, it does help the performance skill as well.
Speaking as a guy who just went to one of those jazz band performances, I wish I would have done this, what you're describing. I wish I would have done it like way more. We switch up the seats, but that's about it. That's what I've done. We stay in jazz band, but we like switch up the order of who's who. But I need to do that more and like get the kids away, because it is good strength training in terms of like actually learning the piece and helping like implement those ideas of articulation and vertical alignment. But also like you are going to get into a situation where your piano player is a million miles from your Barry sax.
It's not going to be perfect.
No.
It's not going to be like your homeroom.
No, and you're going to get on a stage where you can't hear your bass. It's going to happen.
It will happen.
And your drummer is going to sound super, super loud and super, super live, even though they're barely tapping anything just because of the room. And you have to teach your band to like get through it and work through it. So that's good. That's good.
Thank
I
you.
want to steal that.
Take it.
I'm going to steal that. We're
Okay.
gonna get away.
What do you got for top teaching technique?
This is pretty basic, and I hope I can describe it fairly and justly. But last episode, I spoke to the kids kind of understanding like what their success level or lack of based on my next task I assigned them in the classroom. And the overall concept here of this technique is that most things I say are do this. I don't spend a lot of time trying to really articulate what I want them to do or what I want from them or what they're doing. And I spend more time giving them tasks and having them perform the task. You could call that a CFU, short for check for understanding, and really working to let the scaffolding be the system of success in the classroom.
Well, I'm intrigued. Like what?
Like what? Let's start with the common denominator for all us band directors, teaching choreography.
Mm-hmm.
Our favorite place to be
Right.
ever. Teaching tondus on a 90-degree
Right,
parking
because
lot.
Because, Jack is a great student, flourished in high school, flourished in college, had a rigorous collection of brass techniques, woodwind percussion. And how many levels of choreo did you take at Butler?
Approximately 0.
Right. So you don't get that. You just learn that on the job.
Absolutely. And still learning every day.
Still learning.
Still
Okay.
learning.
Continue. Sorry.
But, okay, here's my hot take. I think teaching choreography is a great litmus test of being a good teacher. That's my hot take. Because it is something that anyone can do, both like teaching it and learning it. If you made me as a professional development, don't ever do this, anybody, but if you made me take the staff at the high school and say, you have to teach them a minute-long dance technique in an hour using like 8 vocab of ballet
Basic
moves,
ballet.
you could get pretty close.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think that that's a good litmus test. So when I teach ballet technique, just let that sentence sink in. When I teach ballet technique, and for the family members of mine and friends listening, sorry, but this is my day job. It looks like this. Watch me. Do this with me. 8 counts. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, good. Watch this. Do this with me. Do it for me. 8 counts. Ready, set, and go. 16, put it together with me. Ready, go. On your own, 16. I'm not.
That's very close to what you would do in front of the class.
Yes.
Yep.
And I'm not speaking about their level of success. I'm not trying to talk about the angle of their feet in compared to their hips.
What are you doing? What are you getting at?
Especially for choreography, 2 things. You teach by showing. But second thing, you got to get the big picture stuff first before you get the smaller stuff. And especially letting the imagery do the work instead of the audio instructions. I think I've mentioned on this podcast before, my trumpet instructor in college wanted me to read The Inner Game of Tennis. And speaking of a tennis coach that worked with students to basically do this, it's like, watch me, do it for me. And if they say, make sure your foot is at a 90-degree angle compared to the baseline of the court, that's the first thing that they'll do wrong. It's because they're focused on so many things and they're hearing the words and processing them. It doesn't always work, but when you have just the visual image of what should be, you can get it right. So that's like what it would look like in choreo, but also in a concert band rehearsal, it would be very similar for a good chunk of time. Okay, measure 15. Play the rhythms on F. Ready, go. Accent. 1, 2, ready, go. Woodwinds. Play what's written. Brass stay on F. switch, everybody what's written, add percussion. I mean,
Right.
it's all like assigned as tasks, and it's very systemic, and groups that I've worked with for a while start to understand the lingo, and it goes a lot quicker. I think of the high brass here at Concord that I've worked with for about 5 or 6 years now. With them, especially the older kids, like they know how I roll, and it's very quick on how that goes. And the jazz bands, now that I've been teaching them more, it's a similar
Mhm.
similar pace. That's not to say I don't talk to the kids. Like I mean that is probably a 3 to 4 minute stint
Right.
of
You're not talking a whole class.
No.
Obviously.
and then talk, and then another 3 to 4 minute stint.
Okay, so real time, Mr. Hinkle's going through this, and you're learning a 16 count phrase, and you notice that a student is, let's say a student is doing something like right foot instead of left foot, and you're in the machine, right? And you're calling out the commands and you're calling out the reps. How does Mr. Hinkle handle that?
That is such a good question, because I was just talking to Mrs. Nouse about this.
Okay.
Different concept, where we're working on something in concert band, and you know how limited our time has been this week.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you go for big chunks or do you go for nitty gritty and fix?
Right.
And that is like such a hard thing to do, and I never know the right answer. I profess that I never know the right answer. I feel that.
Yeah.
With your situation, I would give it about 2 reps before I correct it, in the hopes that it corrects itself.
Okay.
If it's not correcting itself, I would go over to the kid while I'm teaching and like visually mime it.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
if you're not around there, you probably wouldn't notice.
Okay. So that would be like on a gross motor movement,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
something that was like really obvious. Then talk to us about how does that look as that might be the opening day, and that's like September 1st. You're doing that. You're doing some sequence for the show. How does that look then the next time you get to it, because you're not going to teach it the same way every time because you got gross motor skills going. And then but I've seen your groups work that you can work them up to a level of detail. So when does that come, or how does that come?
Great question. Typically, each time we come back to a sequence and look at it, we'll try and find one thing we can clean.
Okay.
And we will start with like a fundamental exercise based on that one thing.
Okay.
And Mrs. Nouse, who has kind of become our in-house choreographer / dance expert, who does in fact have
dance
background,
right.
unlike this guy.
Yeah.
She creates a 3-minute long dance sequence that the band learns, and it's only introducing basic ballet vocabulary. And we go through these moves and we teach it to the kids. So by the time we come to marching band, we need to make a dance move. We can say tendu 8, rond de jambe 4, plie 4, grand plie. Like, and the kids have an understanding of what that is. So it takes way less time by the time we need to introduce it. And those of you involved in the marching arts, you know how involved ballet is now with the activity. And so with that, we may do the dance warm up and isolate that moment and then come back and then put it in and, use your own scaffolding techniques based on how you want it. I can remember we were working on marching band this year about a plie, feet apart, hands on hips. And we said, look down the line, and we're doing this in a block. Look down the line. If you can see 2 people down from you, that means your back is bent too far forward or back. You should only be able to see one person left, one person right. So you're teaching, right? Like it's not ballet. You're just teaching, but the vehicle is ballet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you have to be, for what we do here at Concord High School Marching Minutemen, you do not have to be a professional ballet artist to convey these ideas.
All right. So similar, it seems like there's a similar vibe, or almost like lesson to be learned. I don't think this was like premeditated, but the examples we're talking about in for sure was the last one because he just gave us a rundown of what it sounds like in the rehearsal and what the verbiage would be. But very limited words, high amount of reps.
Preach. The Kevin Malone School of Education.
Yeah.
Few word, do trick. That's true. It's kind of ironic we're doing this on a podcast.
I was just going to jump in on it. It's kind of ironic that we're doing this once or twice a week for 40 minutes trying to talk about everything that we're doing. But it's because we can't show everything. And so, but though, thinking about those techniques and about the efficiency, and of course these are all techniques with a certain standard and a certain way the class works, and a certain familiarity with the students and what they know of the content. So we're not saying, your beginning band class, 6th grade, after 3 weeks of summer camp, you're going to be ready to put the kids on the outside of the walls. I mean, you might. You could find some good use for that. But you want to make sure that it's done in a almost guaranteed to be successful.
Yeah. It does seem like, thinking about these 4 things we just talked about, that there is a kid, maybe if we didn't work with them for a long time, that might go, that's stupid. Why am I playing at a wall? Why am I playing not the music? Why can't we just play the music? You know what I mean? Like, and the relationship building that goes in, and how the class works kind of all go into making these things successful.
Yeah.
And the student buy-in is a big part, if not the biggest, of these techniques being fairly successful.
Student buy-in is the biggest part. And so talk about reverse planning, right? Talking about reverse planning.
That was our PD today.
That was. These are big kid steps that you're able to take because you help develop the system early on. And then, of course, that system is always being developed, so you can do more in different techniques and trust even more.
And letting the kids know, the vision, explaining to them the why and showing where we're going. I can think specifically for the choreo concept. I remember being a 17-year-old in marching band and having a guy come in and teach us choreo and just go, no, don't ask questions, just watch me. And I'm like, I just want to know. Just tell me, what is my left foot at 90? Is it at 45? What's going on? Are my hips forward, back? Just tell me. And
don't ask
wish. I mean, that's what they said.
No question Wednesday.
That's what it was.
No question Wednesday.
The directors would all come gather the sections and be like, guys, okay, the next 2.5 hours are going to be pretty painful. You're going to have no idea what's going on, but just don't ask questions. Why can't I ask questions? Just don't.
You just
did it. Don't ask questions. And now I understand that it slows down.
And don't ask me because I'm learning it at the same time you are. So I do not have the lesson plan before you. I am learning. We're on live TV.
And the kids still do it.
They still look at you.
I know. I am not smarter than you in this moment.
But they're watching us blow up, and they're like, I feel comforted. My band director doesn't know how to move.
Shocking. Mr. Hinkle can't do a sachet. Who would have thought? That's true. They still do that. We had the choreographer come in. They're like mouthing to me 30 yards away. Is it on 8 or is it on 7?
Should I point or does it round it?
What happened?
Well, should the valves be up or down? I'm not sure what point that goes to. But no, here's what always happens too when you're doing choreo is the saxophones. We have a neck strap. Nobody else has a neck strap. So how can we do this? And the bass clarinet's I got 2 neck straps, I got 2 points.
Meanwhile, the tubas have already set their instruments down and created their own choreography. Yeah, they're rebelling.
Tubas have already gone to plan C, right?
Yeah, it's the mellophones that really get into the thick of stuff. They're like, wait, let me get out my notebook. Did you say count 7? Mr. Hinkle, is it now 7 front or 7 are we at Napanee? Where does this happen? The trombones are throwing their binders like a Frisbee.
You don't need your binders for this. Wee-ha!
And this night every year, it's always raining.
Yep.
It's always windy.
Windy.
And you can't hear the microphones because it sounds like.
Or it feeds back, or the guest that comes in to do the choreography doesn't know the etiquette of your sound system, like actually to speak into the mic. And so he's,
like,
hey,
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me now? Yep.
Yep.
We got you.
Got it. Okay, we just got off on choreo there. That's real.
That is so real. It's okay. The choreo nightmares don't have to happen for another 4 months. We're getting close. Yeah. Hey, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
If you would like one of these beautiful Chops mugs, hit up the merch store. They hold coffee. They hold tea.
Water.
Takis.
Yep. Mountain Dew.
Your own tears. Just catch them every day at the end of the day in your car as you're leaving school. They're great. You can save them up and water your plants. Make sure you're liking and subscribing and hitting up those social medias. We're almost to 11,000 followers
Perfect
on TikTok.
listeners. That's awesome.
That's great.
11,000. I remember when we got 100. You did a little reel in the band marching band field.
We're like, this is awesome.
100
Triple digits,
subscribers. Whee!
Our next stop, 100,000 followers.
Then we
We'll see you guys
take
in
over.
40 years.
Yeah. We'll be in Sandalwood Estates every time now. Right. Okay, so for Steve Peterson,
And Jack Hinkle.
we're out of here.
See ya.